Shaffer. I'm one of the longest, if not the longest, members of the youth group, not including, of course, Mitch and Brooklyn. So he asked me if I wanted to come speak like a lot of months ago, and it snuck up, and now it's here. And anyways, so I want to let you guys know my sermon series is How He Loves. So I want to let you know how I came upon this. So I had a ton of ideas flowing. I had all these like brain juices like going about ideas about what to talk about. I just had like all these different ideas because I had so many months to think, and you think and you think and you think, and you change ideas. And it was like, I'd say a month and a half ago, maybe 2 months. And we went camping one time. So we all went camping. It was FYA, faith, youth adults, young adults. And we went camping, and like we had an awesome time. We played frisbee, all this stuff, set up tents. But at the end of the night, we sat around a campfire, and we just began to be like, hey, some of us don't know each other. Let's introduce ourselves and then say, what's your favorite song and why? And so we began to go around the circle, and it started about halfway across from me. And I was just thinking to myself, I was like, what is my favorite song? It was like favorite worship song. So I was like, what is my favorite worship song? And I was like, I don't know. So I kept on thinking. I was thinking. And by the time it got to me, like I remembered this song, and it has a lot of deep meaning to me. And that's exactly where this name comes from, is the song How He Loves. And I'll tell you more about why it's my favorite song as we go throughout the series. But I want to just begin to elaborate on how He loves and what that means. See, whenever I was thinking about it, God told me, He was like, a lot of the youth today just don't know how much I love them or what my love looks like. They just hear about it, and they don't really know what it means because either they come from a broken situation or a broken family, and they just don't know what that kind of love means, what unbreakable love, what never-ending love means. So throughout the sermon series, I'm going to break it up into 3 parts, how He loves and what that means. So first one, this one, is going to be God's protective love. So it's like, I got a lot of different ideas on how to present to you what His protective love looks like. So next week, I'm going to talk about His generous love, how He wants to bless you. And then the last week, I'm going to talk about, and this is going to be like my big finale, His forgiving love and how much He loves you and wants you to just love Him back. So opening up first sermon, this is, He's just like a superhero. God's love is protective. So let's talk about superheroes. That's the best way to understand it because, whenever you think of someone that's big and strong and protects you, you think of like Marvel or DC. So do I have any? You're a DC? Didn't even have to ask. So do I have DC fans? DC. How about Marvel? Seems about like 60-40. So we think of all these superheroes. So what defines a superhero? There's like a lot of different ideas about what a different superhero is. So the first superhero I can imagine, obviously the big one, is Superman. You think of his like big strength. He's fast. He can see everything. He's basically almost. He doesn't like him. He is. But so like I was thinking second one. I was thinking Batman. That's a superhero, but he's super smart. So that's what makes him a superhero, right? He's just got money, right? There's no superpower. He's rich. His superpower is money. So, and then the third one I was thinking of is Flash. Speed. Yeah. So we think of like all these like super abilities. And another one, maybe let's go to Marvel, like Spider-Man. Who likes Spider-Man? Yeah. I'm a Spidey fan myself. I love Spider-Man. Rest in peace, Stan Lee. And then the last one I could think of, Hulk. I don't know if he really protects people. He's just really big and strong. Hulk smash. Protecting, I don't know. But as I was going through this, I can remember. So you think of superheroes, right? And whenever we like try to put God in that standard, we're thinking like God's a superhero. We kind of like, I don't know, but what they imagined, can I get that picture of Jesus? This is what they imagined back then. Like whenever Jesus was coming, they're like, there's a Messiah coming. This is what they're imagining. They're imagining Rambo Jesus. It's like Jesus to come in, the general, conquer the Romans, save the day, and just do all that. But that's not exactly what happened. So we just look at this picture of like Jesus, and what does his protective love mean if he didn't come like this? So I'm going to get to my next point. How soon will God get there? So, like, do you guys know, like, Superman, like, in the classic comics, like, Lois Lane was his, like, big crush. Like, Lois Lane was in trouble, and then she'd be like, help! And then, like, Superman was like, poof! And he's there in, like, a second. You know what I'm saying? Like, the classic, like, he'd just, and then he was there. So, like, if we can imagine this, like, superhero Superman doing that in, like, I think, like, one time in the comics, like, it actually counted it. It was, like, 3 seconds, 2 seconds. How much sooner will a God that loves you more than just a crush, Superman likes Lois Lane, how much more will God save his most favorite child from any problem? So, like, imagine it. It's like, instead of Superman, replace that with Jesus. It's like you cry out to Jesus, like, Jesus, help me! And he's like, I'm here. But not with the country twang, sorry. I'm here. So there is a story kind of like that you can imagine, that there's kind of a superhero-esque feeling to. And I kind of see that as the prodigal son. And so that's found in Luke 15. Well, the part I'm going to use is Luke 15, 18 through 20. So in this, like, you get the story of the whole prodigal son. He takes his stuff and he leaves, and he's like, I'm going to do whatever I want. And then, spends it all, wastes it all, and on nothing big either. He winds up in a pig pen wishing he could eat what the pigs were eating. That's pretty low. Like, pigs eat a lot of gross stuff, and I don't want to eat pig food. So, like, he was, like, in this pig pen. He was in the lowest place he could be. And then he thinks to himself, he's like, how much better are my father's servants off than I am right now? I'm going to go and be one of my father's servants. So now we pick up here in 18, and he says, I will set out and go back to my father and say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired men. So he got up and went to his father. And this is the superhero part that I really like. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him. And he ran to his son, threw his arms around him, and kissed him. So that's exactly what I think of, like, imagine, like, a saving. Like, the guy turns around. This is basically his cry for help, is that he's going back to his dad. But while he was still a long way off, his father ran to him. So, like, I don't know if you know this, but back then, so these people were wealthier. They were landowners and stuff. And whenever you're wealthier, you, like, wear these, like, robes. But, like, the robes go down to here, and they're pretty kind of tight. So running either means you're running like a penguin, or, and here, he picks it up and he starts running. So I don't know how long it's been since those pale legs have seen the light. So, like, servants are like, he's running like this, and his servant's like, ah! This light's just gleaming. You ever see, like, someone, like, sits like this maybe, and, like, you see, like, their upper thigh, and it's like, oh gosh, where's that been hiding? But so he's, like, running. So I can also imagine, like, do you know that, like, the day, like, you go to PE and it's super unlucky, and, like, one of the kids are in skinny jeans that are way too skinny, so he's running like this? Yeah, that was the best. That was one of my favorite parts of high school. You could tell. But anyways, the important part here is that he ran to him to meet him. So God wants to be your superhero. So I want to go back to one of the lyrics in the song, why this was named How He Loves. And it's one of the most important parts to me. And it says, when all of a sudden I'm unaware of the afflictions eclipsed by glory. So these afflictions, affliction means pain, means markings, it can mean all these different things, but afflictions are bad. And eclipsed means they're basically being covered. So I want to ask you, and this is my last point already, I know it may have seemed a little quick, but my last point, what do you need saving from? What do you need covered? like when you think of saving, do you need to be saved from a bad relationship? Do you need to be saved from bullying? Maybe you need to be saved from depression or anxiety or loneliness? Maybe one time you just got peer pressured into doing something you shouldn't have, and now every time you're around those friends, you're doing it, whether it's drinking or drugs or vaping or something. But is there something that you need saving from? So I'm going to tell you a personal story of mine. So around like sophomore year, this was after I got my personal call to be a youth pastor. So it was like, I think it had been 2 years since then, a year and a half roughly. So in my sophomore year, I just got in this real depression. I wouldn't say I forgot, but I just became numb to the sense of purpose in my life. And I just felt like there wasn't a lot of reason to do a lot of things. And then it just began to escalate and escalate. And eventually I didn't have a reason to get out of bed, I felt. I just slipped into this depression so bad that like school became just something to do and grades didn't have a purpose. And I would think like, what do I need grades for? Well, I need them to get into college. Why do I need to go to college? So you can get a good job. Why do I need a good job? So you can get money. Why do I need money? To live a good life. What's the purpose of that? So personally, I struggled with a purpose for myself. And during this time, I had just a complete drought of God's voice in my life where I wasn't searching it, or just it was a time where he was testing me maybe. But it was just really rough. And like, I can remember one night, and during this time, and this is going to get a little deeper, but I had a time where like I really did think about suicide, where I really did think about, well, if there's no purpose, then why go on? And the more I thought about it, it wasn't the scaredness of doing it that kept me from doing it. I have a real deep love and respect for my mom, and my mom dealt with my 2 older sisters who were, I can call them pain in the butts now because they're getting better, but they were pains in the butts. So I just had like this huge deep respect for my mom, and I couldn't put her through that. So like I decided, I was like, no, I can't do that. I can't do that to her. So then I just kept on moving forward. But ultimately this moved me to, I was laying in bed one day and I was like, you know what? If I'm going to keep on moving, I know one day I'm not still going to be in this. So I got out of bed, I went to my desk, and I just began to write. I wrote out all the feelings, all the thoughts I had. I wrote out everything that I could just bring out of me. And I was like, I know one day I'm not going to be in this. I know one day that I'm going to be able to use this to relate to someone. And as I finished and I was at the end of the page, I felt God. He was like, now, use this to help someone else. He was like, I will use this in you, the problems that you went through, the darkness that you felt, and you'll be able to help someone else that's going through something similar. And I just began to feel tears well up in my eyes, because this was such a touching moment for me, because I hadn't heard God in so long. And he was just there in that moment. In that moment, I knew that the whole time he'd been watching over me. The whole time he was sitting there like this. And I just needed to pick up and run to him. So for you, and then, of course, my life started just going up from there. I followed God's calling. I got an internship here. I got accepted into ORU. And now I have so many awesome friends that I'm so thankful for. And they only make my days greater and greater as I gain more friends. So for you, these afflictions eclipsed by glory, they can mean a lot of different things. They can mean that the cuts on your arm, you look down and they're no longer there. It means that you look at your life and you realize how important you are. It can mean that you look back on a decision that you regret so much, and you know that things will get better from here because God's got you. He loves you just the way you are, and there's nothing you can ever do to change that. The same God that you might barely talk to, or maybe you even ignore him, the same one, is always sitting and waiting. Can we imagine it? That he's sitting at a phone. He can see you and he's waiting for you. He's just waiting for you to call. He's going, they didn't call yesterday. They haven't called yet today, but maybe they'll call tomorrow. Maybe they'll call tomorrow. I bet tomorrow's the day. The same God wants to help you out of every problem you're in. He wants to heal you from all of your afflictions. He wants to give you hope for tomorrow like he gave me. He wants to give you all these great things and blessings. He sees you and knows what you're going through, and he wants to help you. But first, you need to turn to him. He searches for you every day. And if you keep relying on your friends around you every day for your happiness, one day they'll eventually fail you. There will come a day where none of your friends pick up the phone when you call just needing someone to talk to. There'll be a day when you've messed up so bad that you want to tell anyone and you want them to tell you that it'll be okay. Or maybe there'll be a day that you've messed up so bad that you don't want to tell anyone. But you need to tell someone because the guilt's eating you alive. But in all this, I can tell you, when you finally pick up the phone, pick up this phone, the Bible, when you pick up his word and you tell him everything that you've been going through, you tell him just all the problems you've been having. When he responds, there'll be no anger in his voice. There won't be any disappointment. What you'll hear is, I'm so glad you finally called. I'm so glad I've been waiting. And he'll begin to just minister to you. He'll begin to heal you. And he'll begin to pick you up from where you were, like the prodigal son that ran home, take you in with open arms, put a ring on your finger, a robe around your back, and he'll give you a feast like none other. All you need to do is turn around to him, because there's no one more powerful, no one more trustworthy, and no one more up to the task of loving you. Bow your heads, please.